Yeah, so, well, as you know, I've been reading Clone Saga.
Clone Saga. The legendary Clone Saga.
Yeah.
The Spiderman gets cloned.
Also, for people listening, there might be some piano in the background, or it might just be in my brain.
Probably just in our brains, you know.
Yeah, it should be relaxing. It's like a hotel piano in the background,
like a fancy hotel.
Yeah, while like Bill Murray talks to Scarlett Johansson about like starting a jazz band or something.
Yeah,
and it's just there for atmosphere, and he's like, oh shit, there's a story happening over there while I play this piano.
Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson could be in like a movie version of that 90s Spider-Man show.
Who's who? Well, no. Scarlett Johansson's you.
Obviously, Scarlett Johansson is me.
I mean, when she's got the choice, it's gonna be.
Yeah, she's gonna go for me.
Yeah.
This is
she's like, yeah, it's not. She's like, don't worry, Bill. I'll take the hit. People were already mad at me, so I'll
take the blackest one they've got. I'd watch that movie. Not gonna lie.
Well, moving away from that insanity into a different kind of insanity.
Okay.
For those who don't know, the Clone Saga is kind of infamous in not just Spider-Man comics, but just comics in general as being this kind of convoluted, extremely long, usually thought of as very bad, long story.
Yeah. It's like the Amazing Spider-Man 2 of the Spider-Man comics, if you will. Yeah,
but like if that movie was 40 hours long.
It felt like it was 40 hours long.
Oh yeah, that's true. It might have been. I don't know.
Yeah, it was easily the longest of the Spider-Man films so far, I think.
Anyway,
also the lowest grossing. Sorry, I'm derailing you for no reason.
We've shat on that movie enough by now, I think.
We're going to do a podcast on it someday.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I've already done one. I had a long rant about Gwen Stacy on the waffle press. You guys could check
he waffled on the waffle press.
Yeah. I mean, Diego did this crazy thing where he cut in like 4 different podcast conversations of different people and then spliced them together to recreate the weird structure of The Amazing Spider-Man 2 as a podcast. It's a really ambitious, crazy idea, but it means that like if you want the full extent of me shitting on that movie, then you need to, I think it's on their Patreon or on their YouTube, they got like the full discussion with me, but that's also out there in some form. Although saying that, I didn't hate that movie as much as I think Henry does.
It's like easily my least enjoyable Spider-Man experience.
Anyway, how are we always talking about that goddamn movie? But
because it's just so interesting.
Saying that, apparently, like, there's rumours that The Amazing Spider-Man 3 would have done stuff with the Clone Saga.
Fuck off, really.
Which is crazy to me, because I think, like, regardless of whether they think it's a good idea or not, like, a lot of people don't like the Clone Saga, so, fans, so it is odd, but...
It's like the famously bad storyline.
Yeah, although saying that, I think I've got a feeling that the Clone Saga is going to be something which goes off the rails rather than something that starts off the rails, if you know what I mean.
It could have been good if like the person handling it was kind of not crazy. It's a bit like, I don't know, like Dexter in that sense.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it just keeps going a bit too long.
And then just loses its fucking mind.
So I think what happened is that it was like wildly popular, and that's why they extended it.
They were like, yeah, you like this, right? We'll do more of it. And they were like, stop it. Stop doing that.
Yeah,
no.
And then and I think it kind of got left in a place where they had to do like a series of comics afterwards to explain what happened. Anyway, I know generally the big points of what happens in it, but I've never actually read it before, and I've gotten to that point in the comics where I read up to like the mid-90s, and now I'm there, and I started Clone Saga, and I've actually been reading loads of it lately. I thought it would take me a long time, because... I mean, guys, there's about 160 connected issues.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Over not a very long period of time, actually.
That's a lot of fucking issues.
Yeah, but I've been reading a lot. I'm like 20% through already.
So what is that, like 32 issues?
I don't know. Maybe. I know, I have a reading list and I'm going through in the right order. It's kind of confusing because...
It's a Clone Saga.
Yeah, and it's all spread across different issues. I'm glad I did this because if I chose to just read the Amazing Spider-Man series, then I would have no clue what's going on, because it would be like part 1 of 4, and then suddenly part 4 of 4, and then part 2 of 6. Like, it was all these different storylines, so you have to read them in the right order. So far, it's actually good.
This is from what you've shown me so far, I actually really like that little twist they had, that cliffhanger.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you what, I won't go into it in much specifics now, because I think what I might do at some point is do this all as Weird Lore bullshit. And
focus on bullshit.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna and I don't think it would be one episode, but just to be the definitive...
The Weird Lore bullshit saga, or the Clone Saga.
Yeah,
the Clone Saga.
I honestly, it would probably be, if I did the whole thing, maybe like a 4-part
fuck yeah
thing, and then just record one of those every now and again and explain the whole thing. So I won't get into much, but I'm a little bit into it, and I tell you what, it's good. It's very confusing though, because they introduce a lot of mysteries and a lot of characters whose past you don't know, and they hint at them, and they don't reveal anything yet. So I'm imagining it's front loaded with so much mystery that at some...
like a mystery box.
Yeah, and I'm very... It's a series of... It's like a Amazon warehouse of mystery boxes, and I'm like, it is a bit like overwhelming at times, where I'm like, wait, am I meant to know like the history of this guy? And then I'm like, wait, no, I've read every single issue with them.
There's no way I can't know this.
Exactly. They just don't reveal it yet.
Okay.
So I am kind of hooked, and it's very like readable, because they've got... It's a mix of writers, but they've still got J.M. DeMatteis on it, and he's a good writer, so it's actually good. And there's a lot of stuff I used to make fun of about the Clone Saga, or like certain characters in it that I'm liking a bit more than I thought. They're leaning way more into like the existential like dread of it all than I thought. Like, it's not like, here's a clone, he looks like you and he's evil. It's an actual clone, so that clone actually is effectively you, and it has almost the same right to claim your life.
Yeah.
And how do you even talk to that, and how does this clash with your person? It's kind of interesting.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah, it's weird that's happening in a Spider-Man comic, because the whole kind of point is that he has his superheroics that clash with his fairly regular life as Peter Parker. So it's weird to see his regular life as Peter Parker become about clones. But, but I mean, it's the 90s.
So it's not even as a Spider-Man stuff. It's just kind of like as like...
Well, there's this... They mix the Spider-Man stuff in with it, but like...
It's just Peter Parker hanging out with a Zack clone of himself.
A little bit. They do... They definitely layer it in slowly. There's a good like 20 issues where like Peter doesn't meet
his
clone. The big clone being Ben Reilly,
the Scarlet Spider.
Yeah, who I imagine that might have been a hook if because people like that costume he's in, which is like, it's a red like Spider-Man costume, but
the blue is much more like prominent.
Well, he wears a blue jacket over the top, like a sleeveless jacket with a big spider on it, and it's very 90s, but it's pretty cool, to be honest. When I play the Spider-Man game, I always play in that outfit because it's really cool. But it's kind of a great thing, because in a comic someone's merchandising Spider-Man stuff, and he has to whip up a costume quick, and he like grabs it off he like quickly buys it and puts it on just to have a on-hand outfit. But anyway, if they were in the Amazing Spider-Man 3, the movie, I think they would have probably brought in Andrew Garfield as Ben Reilly.
Oh god.
I think that's what they might have done, and I don't know, part of me kind of wants to see that in a weird way, like an alternate universe.
Would you prefer it to a Sinister Six movie?
No, because Sinister Six is like, I don't trust like a studio movie to actually delve into like the existential horror of having a double of yourself.
I don't trust Mark Webb to do that.
Yeah,
you're not gonna have 500 Days of Summer.
Yeah, you're not gonna get like Denis Villeneuve to do it. You know,
yeah,
like
David Lynch to do it.
Yeah.
I'd fucking watch David Lynch Spider-Man film, or David Cronenberg Spider-Man film, for that matter.
I think maybe Cronenberg was almost on a Spider-Man movie at one point.
Fuck yes.
But I think he had some like fucking terrible idea.
Yeah.
I think it was like, it involved
some mad
like
spider shit.
Some like body horror,
of course,
and like being an actual spider, and it's just
like man spider.
You read all those like pictures, and I'm like, I really want them. I like the idea of people auteurs coming in and experimenting with their own version of a comic book character, like Burton,
like Todd Phillips the Joker.
Like, auteur, God. I just mean like Tim Burton having like a very gothic Gotham.
Yeah.
Is a like that kind of stuff, but
that's like his own take on like a very like specific kind of setting.
Yeah, but then sometimes you read about like these directors coming in with a pitch for something, and you're like, what? Like it's just it's just like so far from anything where you're like, why did you choose this character like at all?
Like Zack Snyder with Batman.
Yeah, I think I had a dream about this the other day. I think I had a dream the other day about what's his name? About James Cameron's Spider-Man.
I would have loved to see that.
I think I had a dream about this, but it was just so boring. I thought it was real life. It was like I found concept art, and it's like the Scorpion was going to be in the movie. It wasn't the Scorpion. It was just like he's going to fight a giant robot, and they called it the Scorpion, and it was like a mech. Nicknamed the Scorpion, and I just had a very boring dream about discovering that, and then only just realised now it was a dream.
Yeah, there was no. It sounds a bit like the Rhino from the Amazing Spider-Man 2, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of a shame that like my subconscious has the same creative output as some major studios.
Some guy dreamt this up and he's kind of underwhelmed by it, which would definitely funnel like $140 million into funding this. No,
Maybe just wake up some days and just be like, I just had a dream that like Chris Cooper was painted slightly green and had long fingernails and he had a goblin disease, and then you're like, no, that happened.
I wish that was a dream.
Yeah.
Wish that was a nightmare that I had one time.
Anyway, speaking of nightmares, we're on the Neogenic Nightmare Part 6.
Excellent. Isn't it Part 5, isn't it?
Part 5, I mean, sorry. Yeah. I get confused.
Yeah.
It was almost really good.
You were like this close.
I was thinking, how the fuck am I going to get a segue? And then you said Nightmare, and I was like, there we go.
Yeah.
For people who are confused what the fuck we're talking about.
Who haven't already like kicked out of this like podcast.
Yeah, what are we actually doing here? Why am I here?
Why are you here? Seriously, what are you doing here? Why are you in my house? No. So, hi everyone, welcome to That 90s Spider-Man show, where we talk about Spider-Man the animated series sometimes.
I'd say it's at least most of it.
I'd say 60%.
Yeah.
It's a slight majority. Anyway, so this episode is Season 2, Episode 5 of not only the podcast, but of Spider-Man the Animated Series. And this time around, we're talking about the conclusion of the Mutant Agenda duology.
Yeah, and this episode is the Mutants Revenge? Or
Mutants Revenge, yeah.
Mutants Revenge.
And, like, it's really confusing because there's no apostrophe, and there should be an apostrophe in there somewhere, but there isn't.
There's no apostrophe?
There's no apostrophe in the episode title, no.
Why do they have like they occasionally just have like these grammar things that just pop up in the title card? It's
really kind of just like poor quality control, isn't it?
Yeah,
just annoying.
You need to get a proofreader.
Yeah.
Jesus,
this is garbage. So yeah, we're talking about Season 2, Episode 5, entitled Mutants Revenge, Mutants with no apostrophe. And if you were with us
just keep talking about the apostrophe.
It's really pissing me off. No, so if you were with us last time, you might remember that the Hobgoblin was hovering over Spider-Man and Wolverine, as they were like.
Well, should we just like brief what happened last time?
Okay.
Alright, I'll do it. There's an evil dude called Herbert Landon, right? That's his name. He's trying to fuck up the mutant race. Spider-Man's worried about turning into a mutant. Beast ends up trying to help Spider-Man. He gets captured. Wolverine thinks Spider-Man's involved. They start fighting. Hobgoblin's also blackmailing Herbert Landon. And then when Spider-Man's trying to take down Hobgoblin, Wolverine gets in there. They have this backyard trash bag fight.
It's not a fight. It's a skirmish at best. It's a scuffle.
And then we get a cliffhanger where Hobgoblin throws a bomb in between them, which then throws us into this episode. So
Season 2, Episode 4 is a wild ride, and Season 2, Episode 5 is no different. The thing with these Hobgoblin kind of cliffhangers is they suck.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. So
it's really like mid-scene, just jumping. I'm more into this one than the one from Hobgoblin Part 1.
It's not as bad as that one. But this one, he just throws the bomb, and it explodes, and it just, like, ow, that hurt.
Yeah, it's just like any bomb he throws where it kind of goes slightly near them, but doesn't hit them.
And they're just kind of like disturbed. And it's just like, why? But I guess it was a good place to cut off. Anyway, Hobgoblin's kind of flying around as these guys have like a costume bum fight, effectively. So he flies to a nearby camera, and he kind of just like destroys it.
Yeah.
And what that does is alert Herbert Langdon, who's been like just chilling around, and then he gets a message saying like, "Oh my god, our screen's gone off." And he turns on his cameras, he realizes Spider-Man and Wolverine are fighting in his alleyway.
Yeah.
And for some reason, this kind of prompts him to kind of take out the missiles, which he has in his building.
Yeah, it's anti-air missiles.
Who is the architect making missiles in a building and making a danger room in someone's house?
Very early in the show, we were speaking about like how there were like drones flying around and like no one seemed to like care or notice, and we were like, maybe this isn't weird for this version of New York. And I feel like in this, it's pretty standard for any corporation to just have missiles.
Yeah.
Like maybe this is our immediate future where where like it's fucking Tesla can just have missiles launching at, you know, any homeless people who are trying to sleep outside. Or,
Elon Musk is definitely developing that right now.
yeah, because think about it, like Oscorp has like fucking like robot tanks that fly out and shoot lasers. It's pretty excessive.
It's so pointless.
So if you're an evil bloke doing this stuff and you see Spider-Man, you're gonna whip out some...
Yeah, whip out those guns.
Yeah, especially when two guys are tussling and you can just missile them while they're not looking.
Get two like mutants in one stone. And Spider-Man and Wolverine decides to then like kind of call a truce so they don't get shot. Hobgoblin kind of flies off, realizing that he can go like collect what he's owed from Herbert Langdon. And that's when Wolverine decides to actually ask a few questions, which he should have done like 20 minutes ago.
He does this after he gets actually hit by a missile.
Yeah.
Which is the best thing. This is where Spider-Man realizes he can heal.
Yeah.
I don't know, something funny about it. He literally just like, Spider-Man's dodging him and it's more classic Wolverine, he just takes the hit.
Just eats shit. And he's like, yeah, this is fine. It's cool. I'm good. This gives Spider-Man a chance to actually explain himself and say like, last time I saw Beast, he was really telling me to like go to Herbert Langdon. And then Wolverine's like, I don't trust you. I'm going to kill you if it turns out that you're not actually telling the truth. So they run off to go find Beast. And back at the Rand Corporation, we cut to Beast. He's still in captivity. And he's kind of doing that thing where prisoners do. They're like, why are you doing this to me? To like Genevieve, who is Herbert Langdon's kind of Eva Braun, so to speak.
Yeah.
And he asks her why she's doing all of this. And she explains that like Herbert Langdon's trying to find a cure for mutants so they don't suffer. And Beast kind of says to her, no, he's trying to kill us all. And then she says, well, at least they won't suffer then. And she kind of like runs out of the room and you're like, okay, that's weird.
It's pretty intense.
Super intense.
Like, it's so bad to be a mutant that it would be better if they died.
Yeah. That's how much suffering they're in.
Yeah, I mean, and if you're still reading this as some kind of like metaphor for civil rights or like homophobia or something, then this becomes even more disturbing.
This becomes upsetting.
Yeah.
Just how much she like despises the idea of a mutant.
But lucky for Beast, you know, he loves himself.
He does love himself. He's all about that self-love. He loves his entire self. Anyway,
what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say something like he
loves his pert, beautiful ass.
I was not gonna use those words. I'm not gonna lie.
I think you were. You were gonna get into detail about his body parts.
Oh, then yeah, talk about his beastly butt.
I think you'd be a good Beast. Like,
I don't know how to respond to that.
If we were to like Kelsey Grammer bodysuit you up, you know, make you blue.
Okay.
But like, don't change anything else. It's just you're blue.
Do I just blue myself?
Yeah.
Oh God.
I might Photoshop that later.
Oh God.
That can be the episode in which it's just you sat there and
like
you're just. I'm gonna take a photo of you and then just.
Really cool.
Amazing.
Okay. So
it's gonna be like really bad Photoshop as well.
Excellent.
Let's not get off the rails, Henry. God.
Let's not go. Yeah, back on the train. So, what I have here in my notes is Wolverine smashes through the fucking ceiling, which he does.
Yep.
He smashes through the ceiling of the Herbert Langdon Corporation, the Brand Corporation. Sorry. He kind of beats up a couple of guards, and Spider-Man kind of jumps in like, shit. Like I should hang out with you more often.
I really like their dynamic.
Yeah.
They got like this buddy cop routine, and I feel like this is, as much as I love like Logan and think that the Wolverine is a little underrated and stuff in those movies, Wolverine is so much better in a dynamic like this, in a team dynamic bouncing off people. That's why he's always using these team up comics, you know. There's a really good issue of Miss Marvel where they team up and she's just like, oh my god, it's Wolverine. But then there's also dumb stuff like at one point he like falls in water and then he's like, yeah, I can't swim because I'm like made of like super heavy metal.
I sink to the bottom every time.
Yeah, it's really fun. You need to do that kind of thing with Wolverine, I think, to like offset the darkness.
The complete like just aggression all the time.
And this has a lot of them just like them running through corridors. They keep using the same shot of them running through the corridor, and I don't know why they're both great designs. I love those costumes. Yeah. They're just together doing dumb shit, and an astounding amount of this episode is them running around picking up guys and throwing them at each other.
So much throwing.
Yeah, because this is definitely an episode where you can clearly see that Spider-Man's not allowed to punch people,
and Wolverine's not allowed to cut people like and shit like that.
Yeah, that's the weird thing with Wolverine, right?
He's always got them out. He's just like, I'm gonna like stab you. No, I'm not. I'm gonna kick you in the face.
Yes, because he's like he's a murder machine, but he's like a hugely popular character with 7-year-olds.
Yeah.
So they just like, I mean, they could do it in like the R-rated Logan movie maybe, and they kind of got away with it in like even like X-Men 2 and stuff, but like for the most part it's like you gotta have him fighting robots or like cutting a gun in half, or like he can't actually use like his most powerful weapon.
It's like having like a Saturday morning cartoon of Nightmare on Elm Street, like Freddy Krueger and Friends or something.
Yeah.
Whereas like this is pointless, you know.
Well, they're saying that I guess if he has like adamantium bones, and you just get punched by that,
you just break your hand.
Yeah, I mean, if you I mean, like if he punches you as well,
you
like,
just turn into pulp.
That's like getting punched by someone with like knuckle dusters, but like the most powerful knuckle dusters ever.
It's like getting hit by like a tiny train.
Yeah.
Yeah, you turn your skin into mush. You'd have like immense brain damage at best.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's a lot of what's going on. It's just him throwing it at people. It's really, really great. And the best part of this dynamic is that Spider-Man's kind of going like, this motherfucker crazy. All the way through.
Yeah.
It's just like this thing of him, like, Spider-Man just standing back and watching Wolverine go to town and go like, that guy's crazy.
I don't know if I'm jumping ahead or not, but my favourite bit, maybe of this whole episode, is a bit where because like you said, they're throwing people a lot.
Yeah.
And there's a point where Wolverine picks up 2 guys and he throws them, and you think, okay, you know, that's the move. But then Spider-Man catches both of them and then he throws them up. So you're like, why are you juggling these guys? And they throw them up and then they just grab onto this ceiling pillar and then they just sit up there like, hey, let us down.
Hey, what are you doing up there? It's like a really weird circus act.
It's so funny because it is like these weird breaks where they're like, this is a serious issue.
Like Beast is about to die, and they're playing.
And it's not even like we're gonna incapacitate these guys or beat them up or whatever, or scare them off. It's just like we're gonna throw them so high that they're scared to jump down.
Yeah.
That they're like, oh, I don't want to sprain an ankle, so I'm just gonna sit up here until the police arrive.
It's so stupid, and I love it.
It's like humiliating.
Yeah. Should we go and help Beast now? I gotta juggle this motherfucker first.
You'd do that if you were like Superman. You just like pick someone up and put him in a tree and just like fuck with people. Or take Lex Luthor and then just like put him in the sewers.
Yeah. So it gets you in like 2 hours, Lex.
Just take them out into like, you know, the middle of the Nevada desert where it's like not so far that they're gonna actually like die. It's just so that it's like it takes them like hours to walk anywhere. Just fuck with them. Just
take them to like, so robbing a bank in New York, just take them to like New Jersey and wait for them to get back.
Yeah,
take their wallets to hitchhike back.
Yeah, make it inconvenient. You know,
just like mildly inconveniencing criminals.
Take their car keys and just like lob them into the atmosphere.
What's she gonna do now?
Anyway.
So yeah, you're talking about that being your favourite scene. Well, my favourite scene is coming up.
Right.
It's the bit where Hobgoblin goes into the lab and like logs in the computer.
Oh right, is this the next scene?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Like,
right, so he's trying to steal Landon's data, like again. Yeah. And it's like a weird like CGI AI face comes up on the screen, which is
great. It's intensely 90s.
Yeah.
It's like a PS1 cutscene. It's great.
And if you were forgetting that it's the 90s, he also uses a CD-ROM in this scene.
Is it a CD-ROM or floppy disk?
He says CD-ROM though.
Oh god, yeah, he does, doesn't he?
It looks like a floppy disk, but
yeah.
I think it's like, I don't know.
It's like a weird, like, I don't know.
I just remember the specific phrasing of CD-ROM, and I was like, I haven't heard that name in a while.
So when he kind of hacks the computer, it turns into his face.
Yeah, he like taps like 5 keys and makes a CGI version of his face, which has preloaded Mark Hamill voice acting.
Do you think that's something he built into the code himself, or something they just had?
Yeah, it's just like an option there, like having like switching to male or female voice.
Yeah. It's like having like a Clippy who's also like an evil like goblin villain.
I would buy Alexa if it was Hobgoblin instead.
Turning off your electricity now. I added that to your Amazon basket.
Hobgoblin, play Drake.
Now I'm playing Kanye West. No one tells the Hobgoblin what to do. Oh no, if only. Get on it, Bezos. Anyway, so Hobgoblin kind of hacks this guy's computer. He deletes all of his life's work, apart from this one floppy disk. Cuts to Herbert Langdon, who's like kind of in his little lair, and he's like getting information from this one guy who shows up through the episode. It looks a bit like Eddie Brock if like he had a baby with Harry Osborn.
I don't remember this guy.
He's just like this guy that shows up and he's like, Mr. Langdon, like Spiderman and Wolverine are on their way.
Yeah, and the bad news guy.
The bad news dude, yeah.
Sorry, sir, everything is going wrong constantly.
Your plan's about to shit the bed again, sir.
I just imagine trying to do your job and you're like, oh, fuck, the Hobgoblin's here, and Wolverine is here, and Spider-Man is here.
So that's what he got to deal with, actually, Wolverine's business. So he goes to his henchman, like, go stop them. And he doesn't know they're about to get thrown. Long story short, like, Wolverine, like, cuts through a wall with his claws and just dives through it.
Yeah.
And he ends up in the lab where Beast is.
He's still in that cage. Hanging above the mutant juice.
And Wolverine does something, like, very uncharacteristic. He acts without thinking.
He just jumps into those, like, electrified poles, which I thought were, like, lasers, but I don't think they are.
I think they're just electrified, yeah.
Right, yeah, so he jumps into those and he gets...
immediately just shot.
Yeah, and then Beast is left there, like, kind of holding him through the bars to stop him from falling into the acid stuff.
Yeah, it's not a good look for Wolverine at all.
No.
He's
out for like, the rest of the episode, pretty much.
It's really funny. Spider-Man was like, oh shit, my ally just almost died again. It probably would have been worse if not for the Hobgoblin just showing up, bursting through the ceiling and being like, Herbert Langdon!
I'm here to do the same scene again where I try and blackmail you while also trying to kill you.
Yeah. And while Spider-Man's there. So he does that, and like Herbert Langdon gets like a gun and starts shooting at him. And then as he's shooting at him, he shoots the cable which kind of holds the cage.
Yeah.
And that means that like now Spider-Man has to go up and like kind of hold the cage by the wire so everyone doesn't die. And it's chaos. My god. And then at one point, Herbert Langdon gets a shot in on the Hobgoblin, and his like glider gets stuck in like the railings.
It's a great comic sort of detail.
It's really funny. And like
it's like a kid with his head stuck between like banisters or something.
That's exactly what it's like. He's trying to push it down, trying to get it like out.
That happened to me once. They had to call the fire brigade.
Really?
Yeah, they had to call the fire department to like buzzsaw the bars so that they could get my fat head out. My grandma would tell you that story if she ever met you. Yeah. She just tells it to everyone.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna ask her. You know, I'd be like, how about your grandson's
Introducing our next guest, my grandma.
What about your grandson's head? Do you have any good stories about that?
Oh man, if my grandma knew I was doing a podcast about a cartoon, she would like disown me, I think.
To be fair, we already cancelled her, so like.
Oh yeah, we cancelled her back in
like sometime in season 1, I think.
Yeah, I think that was episode 9.
Technically, like she's not allowed on this podcast.
You have to go back to episode 9, Mother Shocker, if you want to find out why my grandma got cancelled. Anyway, back to this episode.
Fucking hell. Hobgoblin's fucking shit up. He gets stuck in the railings, and Herbert Langdon kind of like runs up the stairs, trying to go like, I'm gonna get you now, Hobgoblin. He runs like up like 3 or 4 flights of stairs, And then he gets there, and Hobgoblin's kind of holding his floppy disk, and he's like, "This is your final life's work. I kind of hacked your machines, and this is your last piece of work."
Yeah.
And it kind of makes him stop and hesitate, and that's when Hobgoblin kind of like gets free and flies away. And as he's doing that, like Herbert Langdon kind of like jumps on top of like his glider,
Yeah.
and he's flying around, but he gets like dropped into the soup.
Well, he tries to reach his work as it falls through the air.
And he's like, "No!" And then he just falls into the soup.
And Wolverine wakes up.
Finally wakes up.
Yeah, and he kind of like uses his momentum to sort of like swing
like away from the thingy.
Yeah, so they can all get out of that situation where you've just been watching Hobgoblin fly around for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And Wolverine must be heavy as fuck as well for Beast to hold.
Like, he's made of adamantium, as we've established.
Yeah, it's like a body of like metal.
Yeah. And like, if it's anyone other than Beast, so the socket like rips out and they just kind of arms falls off with Wolverine. But no, as it's Beast with his like strong arms, his bigger strong arms, he swings them out, and then Wolverine's like way too jovial for someone who just almost died.
Yeah.
Has been unconscious for like 20 minutes.
And then what's the name of the woman again?
Genevieve.
The huge racist.
Eva Braun.
Yeah, she starts like going nuts with a laser gun at Hobgoblin because she's like, "Oh fuck this! You just like killed him basically." And then Hobgoblin's like, "See you later, suckers," and then bombs the ceiling and just leaves.
Exactly like he did in the last episode. He was like, yeah, fuck this.
I'm kind of into Hobgoblin doing this, of just like dropping into random episodes that have like nothing to do with him and just being an asshole and then leaving. Like, I hope he does this for 5 seasons.
Yeah, just shows up. Like, he didn't have anything to do with the plot at all. He's having his own plot.
Well, he was trying to blackmail him, but he was just, every time he came up, he was like, "I'm going to blackmail you," and then Herbert Landon just tried to shoot him immediately every time.
What's he trying to blackmail him for again? Is it like to like the information that he's trying to like?
Well, because he's pretending
to have a cure for mutants.
Well, I think he's pretending to have a cure for the mutants to the public.
Yeah.
And then to Kingpin, he's pretending to make a mutant army, but then secretly he's just gonna commit genocide.
Why does Hobgoblin know this information? Is my question.
I guess he hacked it, and then he
put his little goblin head in his computer.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, he's a big hacker, I guess.
Shit. Yeah.
It's kind of confusing, but
it's really insane.
Come on, suckers! Be seeing you!
It turns out that Herbert Langdon had a Molens operation, which is our man from like the other scene where he kind of explains that Wolverine's coming. That guy is actually a mole.
Yeah.
And he kind of reports back to Kingpin, who's like, "Where's my mutant army at?" And he's like, "Well, there was never a mutant army."
Yeah.
And Fisk is like, "Damn it! My one true plan that like for some reason I have." He behaves like a angry, abusive husband. After a long day at work, he takes it out on his wife, Smythe. Just picks up his hover chair and like throws it, and he's like, "Don't fuck with me today, Smythe. Enough of your lip. Better watch your mouth."
Bam, right in the kisser.
There's like a half a can of Stella. Fucking no one. Shut the fuck up. Anyway, so
we need a new Kingpin with that voice.
Yeah. Like Ray Winstone as Kingpin.
That would actually be pretty good.
I'd fucking watch that movie. Yeah. I control all the Hell's Kitchen now.
Anyway, we got...
After this, we kind of figure out Genevieve's is pissed.
Yeah.
She's very angry, and like Spider-Man and Wolverine and Beast have a little like chat, and they're about to leave, and she's like, "Hey guys, you're gonna go find him, gotta help him." And then
that asshole he dropped in the acid bath.
And they're not gonna do it, but like luckily he just jumps out.
Yeah.
And he starts like mutating.
Yeah, and he turns into like a weird, gross, like dragon lizard man immediately.
Yeah. Beast kind of points out that like he was so busy kind of focusing on like a cure for mutancy, i.e. genocide.
Yeah.
He didn't really think about what would happen if a human went into it.
Which is, I suppose, if you're trying to find a genocide solution, you're not like thinking about how it would react with someone that you don't want to use it on.
Yeah.
I guess it depends what his plan was. If he was going to like release it as a gas on the whole world, then yeah, you should research
Probably
that.
thought about that, yeah.
Yeah, but then if he's just going to be like, "Line up, guys, jump in this bath," like then that's a different story.
It's like a Roadrunner cartoon with like a sign saying "Mutant Bathhouse."
Yeah.
Just leaves it outside.
Yeah.
And like Cyclops is like, "Oh, I'm feeling rather dirty today. Actually, I might as well go in this bath." He just dies horribly, but that's not what happens at all. No, he mutates. He kind of looks like a bit like Slimer from Ghostbusters, if he wasn't made of slime. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
It's kind of
it
like
makes sense to me having seen the episode, but as a description, that makes no sense.
I was gonna say that, like, yeah, it's a kind of cross between
Looks
that.
like Beast, but not like blue or hairy or Beast-like.
Yeah, it's a cross between like the Slimer from the Ghostbusters and like that one mini boss in Ocarina of Time, which has the arms.
Yeah, or like the Slum Queen from Futurama.
Yeah, that's
he's like a big slug, but then
he's got like super large arms.
Yeah, the bottom half of his body's like green slug, gross, with like leaving behind a snail trail. But then he's got like big strong arms and like a dragon face.
It's a really lazy character design.
He's kind of like...
It's kind of like they were like, oh shit, we need a monster for this, just draw something in.
It's like kind of half gross, half cool monster. And it's kind of like not really decided on both, which I think kind of makes it interesting. Rather than just a dragon or just a big like slug.
I feel, yeah, I guess, but like, I feel like you need more development. I think it's a bit of a bare character design, to be honest. Anyway, this thing is like, as it tells us, it's in constant pain. It's like, I'm in pain, oh, the pain! And it kind of starts like grabbing onto electricity and like shocking itself effectively.
Yeah.
And as it does that, every time it does that, it gets bigger.
Yeah.
So it's like growing up like a kind of like a slimy Godzilla.
Gets more swole.
Gets more swole, getting like proper jacked.
The swole mutant bathhouse.
Swole mutant bathhouse. This
Where'd you do like a coming this fall on CNC? Why are you doing that voice?
That's what I thought of immediately. Like, Thursdays at night on CNC. It's like a reality show with just swole mutants in a bathhouse.
Presented by Alex Trebek.
I was just saying like Sylvester Stallone.
Why is Stallone doing it?
I don't know. I feel like he'd be at home at that kind of thing, and I want to see him like just host that, you know, and like because he's swole, the mutants will respect him.
Oh right, he's there for the swole factor.
Yeah, he's there for the swole.
There's a desk of like judges, you know. So you got
Swole
Stallone.
dog.
He's like, oh yeah, well, I don't know. He's pretty swole. Who else?
Oh, he's really swole. Terry Crews is on there.
They can't all be swole. You got someone to rate the mutant factor.
So you gotta have a mutant judge.
You gotta have Simon Cowell there being like, this guy's even uglier than I am.
It's a no from me, Beast. For some reason, Paula Abdul's there. She's not meant to be there, but she's there because she's drunk. Oh my god, I love you guys so much. Like, Beast, I love your card piece, and I love how much to see this show.
Get a flavour rating from Guy Fieri.
I was gonna say Flavor Flav, but that's much better.
How do you say Guy Fieri's name again? Because that's not how you say it.
It's like Guy Fieri. It's like Italian. Fieri, yeah.
Fieri.
Fieri, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
this mutant beauty is sliming its way into the city, getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, and it may be swole, but it's skip leg day because this thing definitely has legs.
Yeah, but it's just like
Crawling.
crawling.
And it's like, why? Sure. Okay.
It reminds me of a really fucked up scene in Attack on Titan, actually, but that's
It's a whole other tangent to go on.
That's also a huge spoiler, so
Yeah, we'll
just
go
cut that.
Cut that out. Anyway, so it's kind of like Godzillaing through like the city. It picks up Genevieve, grabs electricity, and like,
Yeah.
you're like, oh shit, what's gonna happen? And at this point, a J3 helicopter shows up, and they're kind of like, oh my god, this is going through the city. What we're gonna do? And it grabs a helicopter. And if you look inside the helicopter, it's her old helicopter pilot from episodes 6 and 13, I believe.
Yeah, who for some reason is still working with J3 Inc. or what are they called?
J3 Communications.
Communications,
Yeah.
right? That makes more sense.
Yeah, and like, if I were at that point, you're like, I kind of probably need to quit this job
Yeah,
because like,
sick of scorpion people and chameleons and giant Godzilla lizards.
as far as like pilot jobs go, this is easily the hardest.
Yeah, although again, maybe this New York City is just so fucked up. It's just like constant bullshit. Like if he flies at like the wrong altitude, he's getting missiles sent at him from like fucking Microsoft.
He's doing the best he can. He's still got his severance package in case things go awry, which they almost do again. So as this thing grabs the helicopter, Professor X kind of tells the X-Men like, holy shit, like we should probably go and help that guy out. I don't know what's going on there, but we should probably not let it destroy the city or whatever. And Spider-Man kind of points out that it'll take all the power out of New York City. Eventually.
Yeah, and just get bigger and bigger.
Yeah. The X-Men kind of show up. Rogue comes in to save, like, Genevieve in the helicopter, but, like, the monster thingy kind of throws her, and Spider-Man has to go catch her, and she, like, flirts with him a little bit.
Yeah, she keeps flirting with Spider-Man at every single opportunity.
Yeah. Something about that red costume, man.
Yeah, Rogue's mad horny.
She's mad horny. She needs that. To be fair, though, she's the one that she can't, like, touch anybody, can she? Is that just, like...
Yeah, maybe... I'm not sure how much they...
They don't really explore it, do they?
There's a weird thing. See, in the comics... This is a weird tangent.
Oh, really? So unusual with us.
Rogue in the comics can fly and is super strong for a while because she permanently absorbs the powers from Captain Marvel, from Carol Danvers, who's Miss Marvel at that point.
Yeah.
And that's why she can fly and she's super strong, and she has that for like a long time. And I think during that period she can touch people. In this show, in the X-Men animated series, she can fly and she's super strong, which I think is drawn from 90s comics.
Yeah.
But I assume that Miss Marvel isn't an X-Men animated series, so maybe she still can't touch people, but then she just randomly can fly and is super strong for no reason.
It doesn't make a goddamn sense, is what we're getting at. It's confusing.
But I assume what you were going to say is she's got reason to be horny.
Yeah. Is that she hasn't been touched in a long time. What? She hasn't?
I just sort of like had a little bit of perspective for a minute about what we're talking about.
Get your mind out of the gutter, Jack. Anyway, so the Black Widow shows up, and Spider-Man kind of like goes to them, okay, this is what we need to do. We have to do this, this, and this, and this. And Beast is like, oh, so there's a scientist behind that mask, is there? And Spider-Man's like, yeah, whatever, man. Like,
it's all
the
like...
city is burning.
It's all proper Star Trek science nonsense of just, you know, like filling a balloon with too much air. You know, like, I think... what is it, like Storm comes in like, he's just like a battery, and then they're like, we need to short circuit him, and then Spider-Man's like, microwaves.
It's some like science nonsense.
It's all just combining random buzzwords.
Do you know what we forgot to talk about though?
What?
It's how when Genevieve gets saved, like Gambit shows up.
Can't Gambit. This is I know, I take back what I said before, this is my favourite bit of the whole episode. It's so fucking good. He saves her, and then there's this amazingly like comedically timed shot of, I think, the CCTV, like the camera on the Blackbird, and it just cuts to Gambit landing, and then he just walks off with this woman, and he just like waves at the camera and walks off. And I don't think he's in the rest of the episode.
I don't think he shows up again. He's
just like, he saves her. This huge monster's there, and he just fucking leaves. He's just like, see ya.
Yeah, I'm gonna have sex with this girl now. You must be so scared.
It's like, why were you here?
Gavin was only here so he could like. He's like, oh, that girl's hot. Yeah, I'll join along, guys. No, he does show up again because he has like that really like shit thing he does at the end.
Yeah, it's a shitty pun. Well, they're saying that. I think it might also just be him being like, you know what? Bit out of my league right now.
I'm gonna go.
I throw exploding cards. I'm gonna just go.
Yeah, he throws like one at the monster, and it's like, I helped, and they were like,
I don't know a huge about Gambit as a character because I'm not a huge X-Men fan, but I love the idea of him like helping out a bit and being like, you guys can handle this, and just going for a drink.
Yeah, he comes back like 20 minutes afterwards, like kind of wasted. He's like, what's going on, guys? Did I help? And like conceivably you could see him like walking out to have sex with a woman and coming back later being like, so what did I miss?
I wonder if that Channing Tatum Gambit movie's ever going to happen.
I kind of hope it does. I hope they kind of establish like Gambit as a bit sleazy beforehand.
If they're gonna do Gambit, at least make it like Channing Tatum. I think Channing Tatum really fucking wants to be a superhero because he's like, there's some other like kind of obscure like superhero comic that he's like currently like bought the rights to and he's gonna be in.
Really?
I think he's tried this like 3 times and it's just like these projects keep getting cancelled. He should just weigh it out though, and he'll get like cast as Colossus in fucking
MCU
the X-Men
or like
MCU.
as like the Thing maybe.
Yeah, he'll get something. I'm sure if he just went up to Kevin Feige and went like, make me a superhero, he'd do it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that
It's
like
a pretty big draw.
Yeah, but he's not been in it much recently, has he, Channing Tatum?
I don't know. I'm resisting the urge to go to his IMDb page because this is like a huge tangent.
We've somehow gone on again.
So, there appears to be a keen scientific mind behind that garish mask, eh, my friend?
Takes one to know one, Blue Boy.
Gambit, like, kind of walks off with her, and Spider-Man and the X-Men kind of figure out a plan to stop this monster. So they kind of shock it. Spider-Man, like, works the antenna, and they get that all ready. And Storm comes along and just, like, does the lightning thing. And this thing gets shocked and shocked and shocked.
I don't even know if it's worth explaining, because it
doesn't make any fucking sense.
They're sucking the magic juice out of him with the jet, and they're, like, dangling him in the air while they do it to shoot his magic juice into the sky.
And the thing is, like, when they pick him up, they start to fly away with him. And they realise, oh shit, he's too heavy. We're going down. We're going to crash.
I don't know why they just fly up in the first place.
It's so pointless.
But before he lands,
Genevieve says, like, no more violence. And she kind of uses, like, what turns out to be her telekinetic powers to stop the whole X-Men from dying in a horrible plane crash.
Yeah, so it turns out she's like being a secret mutant. And she was the person who'd saved Spider-Man from a crumbling ceiling.
In episode 4.
Yeah, in the previous episode.
Yeah, so it turns out she was a mutant this entire time. She saves everyone, like, Landon falls on the ground, and, like, mutates back to his old self, almost. He's, like, half
he's
human.
Two-Face now.
Yeah. Two-Face. He's, like, a green Two-Face. They kind of, like, carry him away to hospital, I guess.
I think the point of... you were talking about that design. I feel like if you don't like the design, like, it is a means to an end of getting a guy who is half green, half normal.
Yeah.
Who and we'll be seeing Herbert Landon again.
Yeah, this isn't the last we've seen of Herbert Langdon.
Also, speaking of Herbert Landon, he's voiced by David Warner. I don't know if you know. He's like one of those actors that you just like will know from something. This guy.
I know vaguely. He looks like Donald Sutherland, but not really.
Anyway, he's always in like a lot of supporting roles for a lot of stuff. I knew he's in like Titanic and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, I know him mostly because he's Thomas Eckert in Twin Peaks.
Okay.
Who's just an evil British dude who constantly wears sunglasses, and it's great.
Sounds about right.
Anyway,
he's Herbert Langdon.
And Herbert Landon is
not wearing sunglasses in this episode, but
no, but I'm gonna segue to that. Anyway, he's hospitalized.
Yeah. And Genevieve kind of explains, I've been a mutant, and she's kind of the reason she's kind of working with Herbert Langdon is to kind of like see if there's a cure for her mutancy, and she's like, she's really sad, but like the X-Men are like, come with us to Professor Xavier's house, where you can learn all about being mutants, and we can show you the danger we have.
Yeah, maybe Xavier will convince you that genocide isn't the option.
Yeah,
somehow,
like I think that'd be an easy sell.
This leads through to like a discussion with all of them that's like pretty sweet.
Yeah, they're all like, you're not so bad after all, Spider-Man. Like Cyclops starts, he's like, guess we got you down after like effectively kidnapping you from our house.
Yeah.
And trying to like kill you almost. So I'm sorry I got off on the wrong foot, and everyone's like, yeah, you're really cool, Spider-Man. And Gambit says like the shittest line in this whole like episode.
Yeah.
Where he goes like, you're really Ace. And he's got like an Ace of Spades out. I like to think of Gambit as like going through a pack of 52 cards like, you're really... Where is it? Ace!
Imagine how much better this would play if he just pulled out a completely random not Ace card as he said that line, and he's just holding up like a 4 of hearts or something.
4 of clubs, like, you're really 4 of clubs.
But they all kind of talk at this point, they kind of tie up some of like the theming and stuff in the last episode, where during this whole process Wolverine's found out that all this horrible Herbert Landon research was based off stuff that Beast had done, and Beast had kept secret, and then Wolverine's like, basically, we all forgive each other, and it doesn't matter what we've done in the past, you can't do things on your own, you have to support each other. And it's kind of a nice message, and a very X-Men-y thing to do as well.
You're a heck of a team player.
You got that right. A regular ace.
Nice working with you, kid.
Real nice.
Thanks. I don't know what to say.
Just remember, no matter what problems you got, or mistakes you've made, you don't have to carry the load by yourself. You got friends if you need them, right, Hank?
It's really weird that Wolverine's the one to deliver it.
I like cuddly Wolverine, though.
It's kind of as if, like, when he got shot by that cage, it kind of snapped something in his brain. Because as soon as he gets shocked, he's much, like, more, like, jovial.
Yeah, that is true, but...
It's like electroshock therapy he's had. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm really feeling really good now. He's like, so how's it going, Beast? Puts his arm on Beast.
High.
He's high on, like, adrenaline.
But at the same time...
My body's in a lot of pain right now.
I think, yeah, he just, like, took so much morphine, like, off-screen. But, I don't know, I think Wolverine's best when he's, like, gruff and, like, won't put up with shit, but he's, like, he actually does genuinely, like, love Beast and all those guys.
He's like a dad.
Yeah, I don't like the idea that to be, like, a cool badass, like, these characters also have to be like, fuck everyone, I don't give a shit about anyone all the time, because it's
Zack
like,
Snyder. Yeah.
why do you care so much about these people?
Yeah.
Like, even in, like, Days of Future Past, when there's this sort of ending where it's like, oh, finally we brought the family back together, everything's all well and good, and it's like, did you ever hang out with any of these people? Like, you weren't friends.
Yeah.
You were like, you made fun of Xavier and he helped you a bit. You tried to, like, have sex with Jean a lot.
Yeah.
You hated Cyclops. You kind of mentored and helped Rogue. You didn't speak to anyone else.
Yeah. And you kind of showed up like, hey guys, let's hang out some more.
It was just like, kind of, they were like colleagues. They were like, yeah, we got to, like, handle this terrible situation wherein, you know, there's not, like, they're being proactive. They weren't, like, being friends.
It's like that guy who, like, gets, like, fired from his job after 3 months, showing up at the Christmas party, and being like, yeah, don't you remember the good old times we had, guys?
And they're like, you're that weird murderer who just turned up, and then we helped you because we're good people, and then why are you here now?
You tried to fuck Jean Grey, she had to file a harassment lawsuit against you.
Yeah.
Good times.
Remember when you stabbed Rogue in your sleep? And we were all like, that's fine, because she healed.
Yeah, she's okay now. Look at her. She's like the scar's almost gone completely.
Yeah, they should have put him in the basement or something.
He should be on, like, probation or gardening leave at least.
Yeah, they should have given him a little, like, dog house outside. Like, you can sleep on the roof like Snoopy. Anyway,
tangent over. The whole, like, kind of through line of this is that Spider-Man, it's okay for him to ask for help. And as a black bird kind of flies away, a convenient newspaper just hits him in the face. And he reads it and he's like, oh, Mariah Crawford's back in New York. Now, why this isn't a newspaper headline, I don't know.
Well, they have a picture of Craven on the front paper, so I guess she's, like, famous now. Should also be worth mentioning, for those who haven't listened to it yet, she's from episode 7 of the first season, which is
Craven the Hunter.
Craven the Hunter, and she was, like, his love interest, and Craven is now cured of his craziness and gone back to Africa with her, and she's apparently come back for some reason. But then when they meet and Spider-Man heads over to meet her, she's like, oh, why didn't you come over earlier?
Like, the way it's kind of put together is confusing a little bit.
Yeah, because he kind of said, like, oh, I realised I need to, you know, to reach out to my friends, which makes sense in the context of the episode, like, thematically, but I don't know if there was a scene or, like, a line where he found out about this earlier and chose not to see her.
There's no line like that.
Yeah, but because that isn't there, it's like he finds out that
she's home.
Yeah, and then that's it.
And she's like, why didn't you call me before you knew I was here?
And he's like, I literally, like, that was the previous scene.
Yeah. I found out that you were here, like, 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, maybe,
And this is like a time jump where, like, off screen she's kind of going like, hey, Mariah, I need help, I'm mutating. And she's like, why didn't you call me earlier? But it still doesn't make any goddamn sense.
And I think maybe either it's just like a rush, or that bit of the newspaper hitting his face was meant to be at a different point and they just placed it there later.
Maybe it's an old newspaper.
Yeah, or...
I mean, it's flying around New York City. It's probably been, like, in, like, the streets for a while. Like,
yeah, that's
like,
true.
Yeah. Comics person's probably, like, pissed on it a little bit, and it's just, like...
Maybe there's even a thing of, like, these episodes also being a bit out of order, because we had that kind of feeling last episode when we were like, this feels weird that he's talking about transforming into a mutant when he just spent an episode fucking around with Hydro Man.
Yeah.
So maybe there's some sort of thing where...
Like continuity problems.
Yeah, something like that.
Anyway, that's the end of the episode. We kind of, like, leave it on, like, Spider-Man kind of needing help with Mariah Crawford, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's the end of the episode.
I had to be reminded that when I'm in trouble, I'm not alone.
I need to turn to my friends.
I might go first and say that, like, I like this one better than I'd like the other one.
See, I had this feeling right at the start of this episode where I was like, I feel like Henry's going to like this one more and I'm going to like it less.
And were you right?
I think so. I mean, I still liked this one, but I didn't like it as much as last time.
What kind of changed it for you?
This one, for me, I don't know, it felt a little bit like Deathly Hallows Part 2 or, like, Mockingjay Part 2. These movies where they split them into two, like these two-parters, and the second one is just kind of, it's just wrapping up all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's all the action, and it's all, like, the fun stuff, but it's just the conclusion part of it. So
it's like Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, but I preferred this. This was the most ambitious crossover in cinematic history.
It's never be repeated again.
Yeah,
It might not.
I will say I did enjoy this one, but I think the last one I connected to a little bit more, whereas this one was a fun Wolverine buddy team up, and then at the end you get, like, 30 seconds of X-Men action, which is kind of fun, and then it kind of just wraps up what was already kind of done in the last episode. So I wouldn't say it's like, I'm not saying that as a negative, it's just, I don't know, there was less
It's a
flair.
bit of a Hobgoblin Part 2 situation kind of going on.
Yeah, a little bit. But anyway, so you liked it.
Like, I remember saying last time there was, like, a delicious cheese nightmare.
Yeah.
And in that, like, there was lots of going on, but there was no, like, indication as to why this was happening. And by the ending, it's kind of clear they wanted to kind of, like, make Spider-Man go and get help. And, like, wanted to kind of him, like, deal with, like, his mutancy. But, like, it's not already clear until this episode that that's what's happening. It's just like, oh, look at this shit going on, and, oh, Spider-Man's also here. But, like, you kind of get, like, the lesson of the 2 episodes, and I felt like
They definitely work well together.
yeah, absolutely.
So I guess it is kind of, I don't know how fair it is really to, like, grade them individually when they're, because especially the way this was the cliffhanger, like the way it was split, it was very much like a bomb was thrown, next episode starts with them dodging the bomb, like it's very just like mid, like there's no like
It could have been a commercial break.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd say as like if we were putting them together, then it's
pretty good.
Yeah, it's a good episode for me.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like, I still think it could have been one episode if, like, we didn't have, like, so much of Spider and Wolverine just bum fighting it out. That didn't need to be as long as it was.
But that was my favourite part of this episode.
Oh, God.
It was just, because that was fun, and at the end of the day, like, as much as you want the plot mechanics to, like, move things into it, it's like, what you're actually there for is to see those character dynamics. Like, there's no point in a crossover if they're all just running into the room and being like, we have to get the thing, and then running into the next. Like,
yeah, you have to have them fight at some point.
Yeah, not just fight, but like fight in their specific way. And the reason that those scenes were fun is because they were communicating during it.
Yeah.
And you could see Wolverine start to like him a bit more.
Yeah,
and
Spider-Man's kind of like weirded out, but also kind of endeared by him.
Yeah, and he's taking the piss out of him as well. Like, there's the great moment that we both really laughed at where Wolverine attacks the monster and he just like gets whiffed like straight away, and then Spider-Man just sort of deadpans him. Like,
well, that went well.
I don't know. That's the kind of stuff you kind of watch that stuff for.
Cool.
So many people go back to like Age of Ultron and be like, the best scene in that is
the bit where they're having the party.
Exactly, it's the easiest one to go to because it's more fun seeing those characters interact
just
with
as
each
people,
other.
Yeah.
But then no one says their favourite scene of that is
any other part of the movie.
Or when my favourite part of the movie is when Tony Stark is hacking to stop Ultron from getting the nuclear launch codes.
Or when like Thor takes a bath for some reason.
Exactly, like these just sort of plotty things.
Yeah.
And I think it's good that this fits so much of it in.
Yeah.
I was actually surprised when he transformed. I knew he was going to transform, but it was kind of like, it felt so late in the episode that you're like, it feels like we got an episode worth of Spider-Man and Wolverine running around. Yeah,
but you're going to get a lot of it. Like, it kind of felt like almost rushed at the end.
Saying that, I think that's also like the least interesting bit, because it was just a giant monster, and like if that was longer, it would just be that longer of like Gambit throwing cards.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
it reminded me a bit of like a Power Rangers episode.
Yeah, exactly. To be honest, yeah.
Which is like, make my monster grow, and it grows, and they get Megazord, they kill it in like 30 seconds. It's like, this is a lot of work for almost nothing.
Yeah.
Like, this is definitely more bready, to use my metaphor from like last time.
Right. Oh, right, yeah. Going back to the pizza
PMC metaphor.
idea.
Yeah.
Not just bready as a word.
Yeah. It's like, there's more bread in this episode.
Yeah.
There's a whole extended scene where Wolverine just eats bread.
I guess that's it, because there's more... And I'd say that the Wolverine stuff is the bread.
Yeah. Delicious, fresh bread.
Yeah, gotta get that bread.
Yeah, Wolverine getting that bread. Cutting it with his claws. Delicious sliced bread from Wolverine.
Anyway...
Yeah, we should probably talk about less about Wolverine's bread.
Shall we move into some comic stuff?
Please do that.
Didn't talk about this last week.
No, we did not.
because This is all adapted from the same story,
Yeah.
which is there was a separate mini-series that was a Spider-Man X-Men sort of crossover, which was called Spider-Man The Mutant Agenda. And it's a weird one. It was like it was like kind of a groundbreaking thing, but in like a really boring way. Which
Okay.
that it was the first sort of crossover with a newspaper comic strip and a comic. Because there was like a Spider-Man comic strip that was in newspapers and stuff.
Okay.
But like that technically that's like a different canon. And this was something where they did the story in a newspaper comic strip, but then they also published it as a regular comic afterwards.
How big are we talking? It's more like Garfield size, but in like Spider-Man comics.
I think it was a bit longer, but I think it took a while and they made it as like this collectible thing.
Yeah.
It was published over a number of months.
It's actually a very clever idea for newspapers, actually.
Yeah, and I think the idea is that they printed like a comic which was like empty, and then you cut them out and you put them into the comic and made
Your own comic.
Yeah. So it was kind of I read the newspaper clipping version and the comic version, and it's kind of what you expect. It's like, what if these were all square panels and a little bit more simplified?
Yeah.
The story is pretty similar. The comic version was published in '94, a year later, written by Stephen Grant and with art by Scott Collins. It's pretty similar. You still got Herbert Landon, who's someone working at the Brand Corporation, who in the comics, Brand Corporation are just like one of these evil places that are always fucking with people. I think they created Will-O-Wisp, who is a character that no one is fighting to be in the Spider-Man movies, but he's fine.
He's okay. He's no Hydra Man.
Can't believe Hydra Man is technically in a Spider-Man movie. It's a weird thing to realise. But you got a very similar thing of like there's a conference, Peter goes to it, he spots Beast, sits next to Beast in the audience, and they kind of like talk. Hobgoblin attacks. You know, there's that same blackmail plot, but the blackmail plot is more about how Landon is defrauding his investors.
Okay.
It's about that more.
That makes much more sense.
Yeah, and Kingpin isn't like a part of this at all.
There's no mutant army.
No. I mean, it's kind of pointless in this, to be honest.
It's super pointless.
Yeah, it's just like Kingpin just gets lied to at the start and then sits there waiting, and then
Yeah, he realizes he's been lied to and he like beats up Smythe a little bit.
yeah, well, he just kind of like gives him a little shake.
Yeah.
Don't fuck with me.
He puts him in his place, you know?
The difference in this one is, and I don't think this came up in the show, but do you know about Beast? How Beast looked human originally?
Kind of like, I bet like an X-Men First Class. A little bit.
Yeah, and then they kind of do it in First Class as well, right? Where the reason he turns blue and furry is because he experiments on himself to try and remove the mutant gene.
Yeah. And he makes it much worse.
And in the comics, he was at Brand Corporation when this happens, but the way that Herbert Landon sees it, who was friends with Beast during that period, the way he saw it is that Henry McCoy was killed and he went missing somehow, and then Beast is just some mutant who came and stole his identity. So he doesn't even believe, because he's like Henry McCoy, he would have never like been a mutant, you know, he was my friend, you know. So there's a bit of this dynamic where Beast is like, look, I'm Henry, I know you, and then he's like, shut the fuck up, mutant, you know.
Henry wasn't blue. He wore more clothes than you're wearing.
Yeah, this also has a great scene where Hobgoblin, just a random scene where Hobgoblin like goes to a bar and he just like goes for a drink, and then there's loads of people there who are just making fun of him, like other criminals who are just like, oh, this guy's getting his ass kicked all the time, and they're like referencing all these issues where different superheroes are beating him up, and then he just goes nuts and just like beats the shit out of everyone in the bar and blows it up. It's pretty great.
It's a Hobgoblin thing to do.
They have the same thing going on where where Beast is in this cage, except for Spider-Man's in there as well, because he thinks Spider-Man's a mutant. This whole thing is just Beast. There's no Wolverine at all.
Okay.
It's just a crossover with Beast. And they also explain more about, like, this ooze they're going to drop them into is, like, effectively, it will make them human, but it also has, like, a side effect of making every cell cancerous.
So just like super cancer.
But, like, if every cell is cancer, then you're just pretty much immediately dead, right?
Yeah.
And then they have that same thing where they just kind of, like, Hobgoblin breaks in and they almost fall in. And Spider-Man actually sort of saves Langdon from the Hobgoblin, but then
Drops him.
But then Hobgoblin, like, cuts his web line and they both fall into the ooze.
Oh, shit.
And then Landon comes out and he transforms, but, like, Spider-Man is just like, oh, I'm wearing, like, a suit, so it's fine.
Okay.
It doesn't touch my skin.
Okay.
And you're kind of just like, oh, it's fine.
Yeah. Should probably watch this thing when I get home.
Yeah, exactly. I don't turn to a giant monster. But Landon also transforms, but he doesn't turn into a giant lizard in the same way.
Okay.
I'll get an image of this up.
Because like, I guess the comics have enough lizard people, and it'll just get confusing.
I was saying that he ends up looking like really similar to the Thing. There he is.
Oh, goddamn.
But he's effectively, he turns into this sort of brown, like rocky skinned guy who's like got like a frothy, slimy mouth. It's just like a gross version of the Thing.
Okay.
And then he kind of goes nuts and he starts.
Everything had rabies or something like that.
Yeah, and he just kind of goes crazy and starts like punching people and stuff. And he's got like unbreakable skin, so no one can shoot him. And then Spider-Man and Beast team up and beat the shit out of him and take him out. And then he doesn't transform back. He's still in that form. And then Beast is like, I'm gonna like, dedicate some time to helping this guy transform back.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like it. As far as Herbert Landon does, I couldn't find the issue, but I think he's later referenced in an issue where Beast says something about like how he's working on a cure, but I don't think he ever actually comes back.
Yeah.
And also, like, technically this is, I think, not Earth 616, where Earth 616 is the comic universe.
Yeah.
I think it's technically Earth 77013.
Sure.
Which is the universe of that comic strip. So it's like, technically, like, I'm not even sure if this whole story is canon.
Okay.
But it does draw on a lot of stuff from the comics during that period, so it's kind of like an iffy thing, but I feel like nothing in this is like referenced later.
Because, yeah, it's just...
So it's kind of hard to say. But I think it was more of like this publicity thing of doing the newspaper thing, and then I guess they just, because it was only like a year before this series pretty much, they were just like,
fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah, let's just adapt this almost exactly. But then to be honest, in this series, they made it a better story.
I think so, for sure.
Because
there's like a whole thing about like the actual like consequences and like kind of effects of mutancy.
Yeah, there's nothing about like, there's no Wolverine, which is a good sort of other aspect to drop in, which I'm sure is just because Wolverine is super popular.
Yeah.
But I do think it's good to have that three-way dynamic between the...
There's no Genevieve either, is there?
There might have been. I can't remember.
But in the same context as the way she is in the show, I mean.
You know, I can't remember. It was only like a few weeks ago, like I read this, but I already can't remember.
Shit.
But I think it's because these things are so similar. Like, even exact scenes kind of play out in the same way, to the point where I'm like, I don't even know.
Shit, yeah. Yeah, I think the actual like story and the actual like, I guess, moral of the story is a lot clearer in the show, which is, I think...
It does feel like a very, just like a random comic story. There's nothing about it that feels particularly pivotal in any way.
No, I can't get that.
But I think it also goes to show that how like good an adaptation this is, that they managed to sort of improve on it in some ways.
I think every kind of adaptation they've gone for a comic storyline so far, they've at least matched the potential of the actual comic.
Yeah, it will change more in the future because a lot of the things that they've adapted so far are like these
classic stories
where they've only got one issue for this character.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, it's not like they're going to be like doing Craven's Last Hunt in a show or anything like that.
Certainly. They got like kind of burned off the Kurt Cobain and what he did, and they were like, "Yeah, we can't do this on screen."
Try and bring that joke back. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, much like Kurt Cobain, can't bring him back. Anyway, what I forgot I was going to say.
The end.
Also that, but like I was going to say that like as far as adaptations go, like. What do you think the best adapted version of the comics has been in the cartoon so far?
So far?
Yeah.
The symbiote stuff, probably.
Yeah?
Because they mixed and matched a lot of stuff with that, and they covered it in just 3 episodes. A lot of those episodes were good. I think a lot of people go back to those episodes when they think of, like, what the symbiote story is. That's what people think Venom is, because a lot of, like, even Venom fans might not have read all those comics that led up to Venom. And there's definitely a story that needs to be streamlined if you're going to do it again. Because I don't think they would have done it that way if it was all pre-planned in the comics, maybe. So I'd say probably that.
Yeah, I immediately thought to the like Venom episode and like that character and the way the storyline works, and I was like, considering how much they had to do, it's amazing how well they kind of streamlined it all. But yeah, I don't know. I still think like. Even something like Hydra Man, where like the story itself isn't like
that's probably that's probably the best example, because the symbiote thing is taking a good story and then making it like good in a different way or potentially better depending on your point of view. Hydra Man is just taking that story and just like I don't understand why anyone would think Hydra Man is better in comics, because he's just an asshole, whereas here there is an actual like more of a motivation.
Yeah, you can see why he does the things he does, and like his comic book origin makes slightly less sense as well.
It makes the same amount of sense. You're just mad because they like used words.
Yeah, they tried hard to like polish this turd, and it just made things worse.
I think the same thing happened in both, but you just have a headcanon that it was magic. It's not magic. It's science, but they just didn't say.
It doesn't make any fucking sense.
I'm not saying it does. I'm just saying you can't say one makes sense when the other doesn't. It's
the
exact same thing.
They both don't make sense, but one doesn't try to explain it and make it worse.
I think that's because of runtime, though. That's not because they think that's a bad idea. They're like, we got 22 minutes.
I guess. Yeah, no. But yeah, that's also. I was gonna say that's probably like my. I was talking about adaptations of different things. I think that's like one that kind of stood out to me, because I was like, this shouldn't have been an episode of a cartoon. No child should care about this. And yeah, they got it like going. You know, they're like, "Hey kid, you want to hear about this Hydra Man?" The kid was like, "No," and they were like, "Well, strap in," and they actually made it work. And I think that's something the show maybe doesn't get enough credit for.
Yeah,
you know, because like there's so many stories to adapt, and they've chosen to adapt these ones. And they've actually made it not hot garbage.
I think the fact that this is the first sort of Spider-Man series where they had like good animation and they can just, and there's a idea of like, we're going to have these long stories. They're probably like thinking like, how do we remix this all and make it work?
Yeah.
Whereas even stuff like the later cartoons that came after this, because some of those stories had already been done in a cartoon, it's more about like, how do we do it but not like Spider-Man the animated series?
How do we kind of reimagine this?
Yeah, how do we reimagine? How do we make this cooler? How do we make this more kid-friendly? And I think like that worked in something like Spectacular Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But like, I think you do get diminishing returns, because at a certain point you're like,
this is just different for the sake of being different. We're not actually adding anything or improving.
Exactly.
Anything.
And also it's like more about like trying to keep things fresh rather than trying to tell like a good story. Or I haven't watched a huge amount of those new cartoons, but I feel like a lot of them are more about, okay, we're going to have like Nova and White Tiger and
all these other characters
Thanos are going to be in this episode. Fuck it, they're all in this Spider-Man episode. We know like 2 facts about each of these characters and they're going to express them. Yeah. They're going to fight, blah, 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 end of the episode. Rather than like this show, you can tell that they've actually like gone into these storylines and been like, especially since like the more I read of these comics, I'm like, oh shit, they actually like kind of adapted this a bit. Like they actually took this random moment and tried to fit it in their episode. There's like a surprising amount of care gone into like
actual like thought and work, and actual like, it's not like kind of lots of like a couple of writers in a room for 24 hours and like, get this right or you die, like a really bad Saw episode. they actually kind of sat down and were like, how are we going to make this a good cartoon?
Yeah.
You know? But no, yeah, like, little tangent. Yeah, interesting episode. Interesting couple of episodes.
And now that we've come to the end of talking about this one,
yeah,
I think we should make like Gambit and wave to the camera and walk away.
Yeah, we should do that. We should throw cards away and walk off camera. We should make like Herbert Langdon and get shocked and get taken to hospital.
You can't improve on my amazing sign-off.
I'm pretty sure I can, but we'll...
Yeah, let's try another 10 times
Yeah.
and see what sticks.
Yeah, you guys stick around for this. We're going to be here for a while. Yeah, this kind of brings to the end the Mutant Saga, the 2-part Mutant Saga, in our Neogenic Nightmare Saga. A saga within a saga. That's now over. And yeah, that brings us to the end of episode 5 of season 2.
Neogenic Nightmare Saga isn't over.
Yeah, but the episode, like the saga of the Mutant Saga is over.
Yeah, but didn't you just say they were both over?
The saga of the saga I said was over.
That's confusing.
What I will say
One
is,
saga is over and the other continues.
yeah, the saga inside the saga is now just a regular saga.
I don't know if it counts as a saga if it's 2.
It's a duology, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, this mid-season saga, is that a mid-season saga? No, it's not a mid-season saga.
I think it's just the 2-parter is over. And this episode is over.
This episode was over 20 minutes ago. But yeah, that brings us to the end. Thanks for listening to all this. If you want, you can follow us on our social media channels. There's all in the description. We talked about them ad nauseum. You know what to do by now.
Yeah, the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, the
Spotify,
etc.
yeah.
The Tumblr. And then you can find us on all the podcasty places.
Literally all of them.
And please
Drop us an email.
at that 90s Spider-Man show at gmail.com.
All one word, no hyphens.
Yep. And of course, also like rate and review us, because that like a huge boost to like pushing us up so that more people can enjoy this.
Absolutely.
Or not enjoy us.
Yeah, either way, we're happy. Only thing you shouldn't do, though, is show up at either of our houses and ask questions about the show, because we will probably call the police. Anyway, so that brings us to the end of this episode of That 90s Spider-Man Show. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, if you're going to make a card-based pod, make sure you go to the right card first, otherwise it's going to be a bit of a time sink. Go about your lives now.